Hello and welcome back to another We Ourselves video. And today I want to talk about the Disney Plus show, The Acolyte. They've released the first 2 episodes. I've watched them and I have some things to say about it. First thing I want to say is spoiler alert. I'm not going to go through the plot line and stuff like that, but I might mention things that may spoil the show for you. So if you want to watch it first, go and watch it and then come back. If you don't mind mild spoilers, then keep watching. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's go. I have to say that I actually look forward to seeing what Leslie Headland would do with this show because I expected it to be different. I was interested in them exploring Dark Force users, and it was set during the High Republic era. And there's one thing that I have to say about the High Republic era and that initiative. I tried reading some of the High Republic books because I am a fan of the expanded universe, and I have read the new novels under the Disney umbrella. But one of the things that I always felt that the High Republic had going against it, they did not have movies and or TV shows to establish a core nucleus of characters going into this new era in this universe. The old expanded universe always had Luke, Leia, and Han, and they had Lando and Chewbacca, and of course you had C-3PO and R2-D2. No matter what the story was, these core characters always anchored the story, and they were always coming at whatever the central problem was from their unique place and position and point of view in the galaxy post Return of the Jedi. But the High Republic initiative did not have that. And some of the first books and novels I read was just throwing so many characters at you. So many Jedis, so many villains, and so many ancillary characters, and there was nowhere for you to really anchor. Some people like the novels. Me, when I compare them to the original expanded universe, I did not get into it. So I really wanted this show to come out. Even though a lot of people thought that this show was the way for Lucasfilm and Disney to shuffle money around, I'm glad it actually came out because I really wanted to see some live action representation of the High Republic. And so that's one of my expectations going in. First of all, again, spoiler, there are twins. Amandla Stenberg is playing 2 characters, May and Osha. May is the Acolyte and Osha is the former Padawan. And I have to say this here. Osha is lackluster. She's not a Padawan anymore. She's not in the Jedi Order, and she can't even use her powers anymore. But of all the characters, I would say that they did the most in trying to establish that she actually has a life that exists and is going on at the time we peek in. I felt like so many of these scenes were like that, and therefore they felt lackluster. These people were simply in a location. They were on a set, and they were doing the scene, but it really did not feel like there was a life going on. And for me, it means that we were not immersed into the different worlds. And I have to say this, if we thought Rogue One gave us whiplash with the number of planets we went to, the first 2 episodes in The Acolyte tops that. And at none of these places do we feel like we are actually experiencing different worlds. There's no immersion into there. The locations do not have a character in and of themselves. They're not really set pieces either. But as I said, the twin thing didn't work because you're introduced the twin thing and then you solve it immediately. Okay, you have that confusion going on, but then there's still another mystery of why this character, who you've already identified, is killing the Jedi Masters. And you also have the fact that there's some dark figure who's probably going to turn out to be a former Jedi who they thought was dead, because that seems to be the running thing. Everybody thinks that everybody else was dead. And that's probably what it's going to be at the end, is that there's some fallen Jedi who's training this Acolyte to get even because they're also upset with the Jedi Order because they're not perfect. That aspect is interesting. And the only time that the mystery really worked for me is when May goes to kill, again, spoiler, goes to kill the second Jedi, and he's been in this protective, meditative force bubble for 10 years because he couldn't deal with the guilt of what he did. And when she confronts him, and even though he doesn't say much, that brief interaction was the first time that I actually sat up and said, okay, this is interesting. I want to know what happened. Osha's conversation with Saul or Soul, however you pronounce it, I think it's Saul, even though they're talking about the same thing because he was also present there and he's also dealing with his issues, didn't have the same impact. The fighting style, I actually like the difference in the fact that the Jedi, Saul and Indira, played by Carrie-Anne Moss, they don't even pull their lightsaber. And I actually thought it was interesting. It was different. Some people like it, some people don't. I personally thought that what both of these Jedi Masters were doing was just like what Dooku does to Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars. The Jedi Yord. There's a scene where Soul and his current Padawan walk onto a ship and you see Yord standing there half naked. Now, all the Jedi wear at least 3 layers of clothing. Why is he half naked? And then he acts nervous. First of all, he's a full Jedi. He didn't sense them coming. Second of all, why would he be nervous? He should have better control of his emotions. The Padawan shows better control, but then she looks down her nose and tells him to get dressed as if he's another Padawan. I do not understand why the man's half naked. It's totally demeaning to him as a full Jedi. And I'm thinking to myself, this isn't Russian dolls, Leslie. And my very last point is we have the wrong detective on the case because they should have had somebody else investigate. It should have been a Jedi who's on the outs with the main leadership at Coruscant, so he's on the other side of the galaxy and they call him in because he's always been a good investigator. Or it should have been somebody who wasn't even a Jedi at all. Maybe they're part of some kind of security force for the Republic that are hints that they're going to become the ISB later under the Empire. But you should have brought in an outsider so as they investigate all these things and they talk to all these Jedi Masters and they get all these different angles on what happened and they go to these different places, we ourselves are learning all of this information. That's why you have that in that particular type of genre. But they have Saul, who was himself present there, so he is naturally unreliable. He ain't telling us anything. To me, that is the biggest problem that I have with this show. Finally, at the end of episode 2, they finally take Soul off the case. Hopefully they'll bring somebody else in and time will tell. But if they have somebody else do the investigation, it serves another very good purpose. If you had somebody who wasn't a Jedi, then when they got to Coruscant and they went into this Jedi order and they're being stonewalled by the Jedi, it would also help us to get an outsider's view of the High Republic era Jedi. Again, this show did not take the time to establish anything. People can say what they want about Andor and the slow burn, but those slow sections are not boring. Those slow sections are immersing you into the flow of those different worlds, those different places that you see in those different characters and their lives. This show, I was hoping would do something similar, and so far after 2 episodes, it hasn't done that. But I'll keep watching, and maybe it won't be as big of a mess as I think it's going to be. But it's really lackluster. I agree with a lot of other people. It's really lackluster and it really doesn't draw you in because of all the missteps that they've already done in the first 2 episodes. So anyway, that's my feelings. Let me know what you think. And as always, like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you in the next video.